Roe v. Wade being overturned wasn't enough, now they're coming for birth control. No, really. Whilst everyone was distracted with the Charlie Kirk discourse, which, let's be real, is still going on, firstly on the same day the event happened and everybody was distracted talking about it, Senate Republicans voted to block the release of the Epstein files. And the Trump administration told the New York Times that birth control such as hormonal implants, the pill and IUDs, that those are actually abortions. Jessica Valenti was the person I originally heard this from, and I'm going to link their Substack for you down below along with their Instagram. As this guy said on my last video, bye-bye IUDs, birth control and abortions. First it's South Carolina, hopefully next it's all of America. Hold women accountable again. Accountable for medical access? What is actually wanted is for us to lose control of our autonomy. This topic was voted by my patrons, and today I'm going to be baking some cookies because I think we all need a sweet treat. It's not my recipe, I've just kind of tinkered around with it, okay? But I'll link the base recipe for you down below.
Where'd you get it? The school nurse.
It's against the law.
Oh, honey. It's a girl's best friend.
A certain kind of girl.
For a very quick glossary, because I know that sex education isn't exactly accessible to everyone, and as Roe v. Bros has shown us, people are still lacking in their education.
A cycle where women get very moody. That's it. That's all it is.
That's all that happens?
Yep. Women get very moody.
I'm going to go over some things. These are the most effective forms of birth control. The IUD is this little device that sits inside the uterus and prevents ovulation through hormones. The implant goes into the arm, another hormonal method, often called the rod. And the pill is taken daily and also called a hormonal method of birth control. Emergency contraceptives like Plan B are most effective if taken within 24 hours of the furious jumping. And no, it's not an abortion. And remember when Olivia Rodrigo got absolutely hated for partnering with Fund for Good? And she was handing out Plan B and condoms to people who went up to the table and wanted them. People were being purposefully scientifically illiterate in order to be able to cause a stir. I mean, we are currently in the throes of purity culture on the rise again, so I guess all of the stirring has worked. And we see this word, abortifacient, crop up as well, which, what is that? More on that later. She did this as an effort to raise money for abortion funds and for healthcare for women.
The fund will directly support community-based nonprofits that champion things like girls' education, support reproductive rights, and prevent gender-based violence.
But my God, did she get backlash, so much so that she had to put a stop to it very quickly afterwards because, won't someone please think of the children? IUDs, the pill and the implant or the rod, are not just prescribed for birth control reasons, yet these are the ones which are being targeted. Lots of people are put on birth control for a variety of reasons from being a teenager onwards, from acne to PCOS, to hormonal issues, endometriosis, PMDD, and more. Birth control in the form of an IUD, rod, or the pill have been incredibly instrumental in allowing people to be able to actually live their day-to-day lives more comfortably. I would say more comfortably and not actually comfortably because if you are one of the lucky people out there who doesn't suffer from painful periods and all of the horrors that go along with it, how does it feel to be God's favourite? I got put on the pill at the age of like 16 or 17 years old due to my inability to go to school because I was in such excruciating levels of pain, struggling with migraines, all sorts. And a couple of years later, I also went on the IUD as well because health issues. So fun to deal with. We'll get into the good and bad of it later, but I really wanted to show you that going on birth control does not mean that you're promoting promiscuity. Not that it should matter, but they are medical devices which are prescribed to people for their health and well-being. And they're often prescribed as such, like the birth control aspect for a lot of people is kind of like a bonus part of it. So taking them away is akin to taking people's medications away that they rely on to be able to function in day-to-day life. Access to birth control in the US has not always been legal. Married women were not legally allowed to use contraception in some states until the 1965 Supreme Court decision Griswold v. Connecticut. Shortly after that, in 1970, facing poor health outcomes for mothers and babies, Congress created Title X, which granted free access to contraceptives to those who needed it. And of all people, Nixon did that. I was shocked too. There's possibly some of you who are alive when birth control access wasn't even a thing, and if not you, then probably your parents. So that clip from Mona Lisa Smile, along with the nurse being fired, is actually true to the time. And that's what these people want to return to. Also, due to Medicaid cuts. Earlier this year, the Trump administration scrubbed CDC guidance on birth control from government websites and froze $65 million in funding to family planning clinics that provide free or low-cost contraception. In the USA, the FDA approved the contraceptive pill in 1960, and within 2 years, 1.2 million women were on it.
I know about popular.
So it's clear there was demand, and globally, over 300 million women have taken it at some point in their lives, including yours truly. It's been recognized as one of the most socially significant medical breakthroughs that has happened. Women who were able to access the pill gained significant freedoms. As interviews will be able to show you, people used to live in absolute fear of getting pregnant. In the UK, the pill became legal in 1961 from the NHS, but it was mostly prescribed to older women who were already married and who already had children. But in 1974, family planning clinics were able to prescribe them to single women. And here in little old Aotearoa, it became legal to prescribe them to married women only in 1961. It took until 1978 for them to be available to the wider public. So this progress is actually very recent. But it's had people against it from the start, let me tell you. The Catholic Church definitely being front and center. As one of my patrons raised, they grew up in a Polish village, and the Catholic Church was the rule to go by. And it still has a hugely strong influence. Abstinence was key. Sex education just wasn't taught. If you got pregnant, you got married. That even meant an 18-year-old married a 14-year-old girl. How American. There was a huge fear of pregnancy and so much shame, something which is definitely carried on. Pope Paul VI, 1968 Humanae Vitae encyclical, which outlawed oral contraceptives and all other artificial methods of birth control, meant Catholic women couldn't use contraception. It's seen as going against God's will. This situation has had men collaborating to look out for each other to protect the property and make sure the property, aka their women, are following the rules. And this reminds me of a Grey's Anatomy episode I remember watching as a teenager. Rose comes in pregnant with her 7th child for her C-section on that same day. She asks to chat to the doctor, and the father of her other children takes them out for ice cream. Lucky them. And then you see her face when they leave. This is not the face of a woman who is happy with her life and is excited to bring this new baby into the world. She comments about her exhaustion and then asks Addison,
During the C-section, I need you to tie my tubes. And I need you to do it without my husband ever knowing.
which is known as tubal litigation. Because guess what? The dude doesn't believe in contraception because he's Catholic.
He's your husband, not your legal guardian. Telling him would be entirely up to you.
Well, if you charged my insurance, he would see it.
Now I really want you to pay attention to Alex Karev. He asks her if she's been abused and she says nope, it's just because of her husband's religion.
And the Pope says no to birth control.
And she asks for their help, and Alex chimes in with this.
You don't need our help. Your husband's not abusing you, and you don't get to lie to him and blame it on the Pope.
Where's the red flag guy? That's it. She's exerting her bodily autonomy, which she's paying for by herself, by the way, because she's saved up her own money for this. But he finds it offensive because it's not what her husband wants. And then we get some interesting backstory. When they were struggling financially, she went on the pill because they couldn't afford to bring life into the world because kids are expensive. We know this. And he didn't go to communion during that time because he felt,
When he does that, he thinks he's...
She's going to hell. Thinks you're both going to hell.
thanks for your unhelpful input there, Alex. The only reason that there is a 4-year age gap between the kids right now
is because we abstained for 3.
she loves her husband, but she can't cope with being pregnant again and can't cope looking after another child. Turns out that she's been hospitalized before due to exhaustion and due to such severe dehydration because she spent all of her time running around after kids. You need a village for a reason, as I have brought up. Parenting is a full-time job and should be recognized as such. During the C-section, Addison is following her patient's request, and Alex tries to say no. He tries to defy her.
You won't be able to have any more children.
Thank you, Dr. Shepard.
Then her husband confronts Alex, asking about the complication, and he's like, oh, maybe it's a blessing or God's will.
It might be God's way of helping you put your 7 kids through college.
What are you saying?
I'm saying get a lawyer.
What a weed. Your property went against your wishes, lawyer up, punish the doctor, and also punish your wife. This means that Addison could lose her job, lose her license, lose her reputation as a surgeon.
Road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Oh, you son of a... This situation perfectly parallels what we're seeing right now, which is a bunch of men who believe that they've got rights over their women's bodies, telling them what they can and can't do, and actively working against women when they're trying to help each other out.
He wants a total abortion ban with no exceptions. He supported bans that would not only criminalize abortion, but ban IVF treatments and common forms of birth control, and that you voted against access to contraception.
And birth control really screws up female brains, by the way. Every single one of you need to make sure that your loved ones are not on birth control.
The Right to Contraception Act would safeguard access to birth control nationwide, but failed today to meet the 60 votes needed to pass in the Senate.
I want more babies in the United States of America.
Interestingly, I think there is an argument to bring back the MRS degree. And no, seriously. And just be clear, that's why you're going to college, right?
The demonization of birth control is the next step into forcing women to have children. Once again, they do not care about the health of the person who's carrying the child. They do not care about the life that child is going to lead when they come out of the womb. Just that the baby is born, which is why I call it pro-forced birth, whereas Jose is a lot more tactful than me. And he's just done this fantastic video all about these anti-choice movers, which is a much more diplomatic way to say it, but I like to paint the villains as what they really are. I may look like a fairy, but I'm a lot meaner. There's a reason why I resonate well with Tinkerbell. This is a constant attack on bodily autonomy, trying to trap, let's face it, women into a position where they have to rely on a male partner because, especially in places like the USA, maternity laws are so and the pillars had conservatives against it right from the start for promoting promiscuity. However, studies found that people were having sex outside of wedlock before the pill even came onto the market. They were just using less safe and less effective methods of birth control previously.
I cannot have his child. Lemon tops. Put this inside you, it acts as a wall, and the acid kills his juice.
Shotgun weddings are a saying for a reason. As this PBS piece writes, it allowed women to separate from procreation was what conservatives feared most. The theory was that the risk of pregnancy and the stigma that went along with it prevented single women from having sex and married women from having affairs. Since women on the pill could control their fertility, single and married women could have sex anytime, any place, and with anyone without the risk of pregnancy. Samantha is absolutely overjoyed.
Do you swallow? Only when surprised.
I mean, men were allowed to do whatever, but the women? No. That goes against family values, which is something which you'll see come up all the time when it comes to the discussion around contraception and abortion and everything like that. And so I just want to think through this logically, right? Because you love to do that, hey? If women aren't allowed to have sex with anyone but their husband, but there's pressure on boys and men to have sex as often as possible, it's okay to just say that you also like men. It's Bisexuality Awareness Month. Like, we embrace you here. That's okay. Do you know who doesn't embrace you? Is conservatives. Because if you don't want the women doing the furious jumping, then there must be someone else that's filling the gap, right? And then we get to how things have been so sneakily done by Republicans, which is something that the left could really learn from, honestly. Because equating contraceptives to abortion was done under the guise of not giving out the $9.7 million in contraceptives, which is still stuck at a warehouse in Belgium due to the USAID being halted by the Trump regime. These contraceptives have expiration dates going from 2027 to 2031, so they're very much still in date. And they were meant to be going to girls and women in low-income countries, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. But instead of going to crisis zones and refugee camps, they will be incinerated in Europe, as NPR reports. And in order to incinerate these medical devices, the US will spend $167,000 to destroy the contraceptives at a French facility that handles medical waste. Oh, but I thought that the US really wanted to stop wasteful spending. I thought that was one of the main reasons why Trump got elected. But it's really important to note this does not include condoms or HIV medication, just things like IUDs, pills, and the rod. You know, the things which help predominantly women. Humanitarian agencies have tried to buy these from the US, but they've been denied each and every time. This means that hundreds and thousands of people will go without their medical access, without these contraceptive devices, which, like we covered earlier, do not only help to solve birth control. But wait, how is any of this equating them to abortions? In that New York Times piece, USAID representative released this statement. President Trump is committed to protecting the lives of unborn children all around the world. The administration will no longer supply abortifacient birth control under the guise of foreign aid. You will be similarly confused by the term abortifacient. That's because it's not a real word. Like Jessica Valenti and Kylie Chung say in their substack, abortions end a pregnancy. Birth control prevents one. Abortifacient birth control is not a thing. The entire point is to get people to have that visceral response because of the first part of the word, right? Abort. You know, abortion. Everyone's got opinions on it. People all have different feelings about it. Hell, even when Lily Allen has had a number of abortions and she said that she couldn't quite remember exactly how many she had, there were quote-unquote pro-choice people who were even saying like, oh, well, you're a bad person. It's like, I thought that you were pro-choice. That means that, like, she chose to do this. Wouldn't you rather her not bring a child into the world that she's not prepared for and doesn't want? That's kind of the whole point. But anyway, Ophie Doki's talked about it. It's a good video that she made. The thing is that Christian nationalists are so strongly against abortion and also contraception. And like I talked about in this video here, they've even been funding campaigns over in the UK as well to try and spread this messaging, to try and clamp down on abortion access and also deter people from even using contraception. And abortifacient, which I keep on misreading as abort the fascist, which... swish, has been snuck into laws in the USA too. And maternal mortality rates are also rising due to all of these budgetary cuts as well. This is directly shutting down birthing units in hospitals, which is impacting rural America even more, something which More Perfect Union has made this video on, and I'll link that for you down below as well. Now let's get to the scariest part, which is South Carolina, who are fast-tracking Bill S323, which is manipulatively titled the Unborn Child Protection Act. And it's really important to note that this was drafted as a national bill. So pay attention closely to everything that they're trying to do with this. Change the definition of contraception so that anything stopping ovulation or the implantation of a fertilized egg would no longer be considered birth control. This bill threatens to ban some IUDs, emergency contraception, and certain hormonal pills. And this is where that made-up word abortifacient comes into play, because like Trump's cabinet revealed earlier, this is how they view these contraceptive devices. Ban medication abortions and even the manufacture or possession of drugs that induce an abortion. Remove abortion exceptions for rape, incest, and fetal fatal anomaly, which means that when the baby is born, the baby may be born not even alive or in incredible pain and not live a long life at all. Forcing the person to carry the pregnancy to term and go through the trauma of childbirth to a child that they know will not be able to live long in this world at all. Like, this is just cruelty. Repeal current protections that prevent prosecution of pregnant people exposing patients themselves to criminal penalties. Impose felony charges of up to 30 years and permanent license revocation on physicians and providers. Helping anybody get an abortion out of state is criminalized. Even posting resources online. Allow family members to sue doctors, helpers, or anyone who aids or abets abortion, treating them like organized criminals. It's creating a prime market for bounty hunters. IVF will be heavily restricted since they define a fertilized egg or zygote to be a human embryo. Criminalize people who have miscarriage or stillbirth. And this isn't in the bill because this is already law in South Carolina, but abortion past 6 weeks is already illegal there. And at the 6-week mark, most people do not know that they are pregnant. So it's quite a lot, right? It means that every single pregnancy that occurs within the state belongs to the state. It's the most extreme abortion ban in history. I will remind you of this at the end, but there is a Senate hearing on the 1st of October at 9:30 in the morning. Get your witches together and go and testify, because this is the only chance to be able to publicly have on record what your thoughts are on this. And it's important for me to raise here that miscarriages are incredibly common, more so than you may think. As Dr. Karen Tang discusses in the book It's Not Hysteria, up to 25% of recognized pregnancies end in miscarriage. The actual miscarriage rate is likely far higher because many losses occur before people even know that they are pregnant. It is estimated that up to 70% of fertilized eggs will result in a miscarriage. And yet they're trying to punish people who miscarry, treating it like it's a crime. Because something like miscarriage management, actually looking after someone when they're going through a miscarriage, which is a traumatic thing that someone goes through, that's been twisted to be seen as an abortion. The issue with the social shame and stigma around miscarriage means that people don't realize exactly how common it is. And that does not reduce how heartbreaking it is for people when miscarriage does happen. But it more shows that just because an egg has been fertilized does not mean that a baby is going to result at the end of it. But proposed laws like this punish someone for something which is completely out of their control. It's literally about punishing women, like there's no other way that you can put it. Whilst they're separate things, I think it's important that I include here that abortion is healthcare and it's recognized as such by the World Health Organization as well. They literally have it listed as an essential care service. Making them illegal doesn't mean that they stop, it means that they become more unsafe. Unless you're super rich, of course, because rich people can do whatever the hell they want and get away with, well, literally anything, right? You will see in states where abortion is illegal, though, that maternal mortality rates are far higher. As this study shows, women in banned states are twice as likely to die during pregnancy or childbirth. That's exactly the issue. They do not care, they only care about controlling women's bodies.
It's time to throw away your hormonal birth control pill.
It is poison. What's really disturbing is that my generation, which is millennial women, we were totally sold this lie.
Aren't gonna want to hear this, but birth control pills are synthetic hormones.
Birth control pills are prescribed as this magic solution to every single ailment that your body is dealing with. But have we ever considered the possibility that they're causing infinitely more problems than they're solving?
No conversation about how our likelihood to experience anxiety or depression would increase by 80% on the pill. We stayed on the pill because no one advised us it was only ever supposed to be taken temporarily.
There's some copyrighted music, so I'm going to read over this for you. What are the natural forms of birth control you've tried? I've decided I don't want the hormones anymore. The pull-out method. Now I'm on to baby number 2. Sorry, this made me laugh so much. I'm immature, what can I say? We need to talk about the anti-birth control propaganda because it is taking a tight grip on the world. Just like the womanosphere has manipulated women into going over to the right and having their rights being stripped away with a smile on their face, the MAHA movement is heavily involved in creating anti-birth control propaganda and creating fear around birth control, chemicals, and hormones. Evie magazine has been heavily involved in this. It's like MAGA's answer to Cosmo magazine, in case you haven't seen my other videos where I've talked about it. With articles like 6 lies we've been told about the birth control pill, 10 reasons why IUDs suck, I almost died from my birth control, and most sneaky and nefarious of all, it's time for a holistic approach to birth control, which taps into many of our wants for a solution to our problems because, like I said before, the pill does have side effects. But one thing which really did make me chuckle was Evie magazine celebrating Renee Rapp saying that she was coming off birth control. I got off birth control after 8 years. As a person who does not actively need to be on birth control to prevent pregnancy or for health reasons, I can't believe I was ever on it. The second my body started to work itself out, I was like, hang on, am I experiencing joy? It just made me feel so much better. She's gay! Renee is gay! Who's gonna tell conservative Christian magazine that Renee Rapp is actually a lesbian? They've also got multiple posts praising Charlie Kirk, by the way, but nothing about the lynching that happened. Nothing about school shootings, but So, you know exactly what they are and who they are. We struggle with medical misogyny like I made a video all about years ago. And funding for women's health research is shockingly low, which means the options for us are slim and doctors often don't believe us. As is brilliantly discussed in the book It's Not Hysteria by Dr. Karen Tang. When our health issues like endometriosis are studied, for example, something which birth control is often prescribed for to be able to help with all of the pain that goes along with endometriosis, studies have been conducted on how beautiful people with endometriosis are, which did get retracted, by the way, due to the severe backlash against it. Can't imagine why. And a study on how endometriosis affects their male partner, with their summary being, endometriosis significantly impacts men across several life domains and can negatively impact emotional well-being. The poor dude not having to deal with any of the pain, surgeries, bloating, nausea, migraines himself. How did he ever cope? Boo-hoo! So we're dealing with a medical environment which is at best ambivalent to women's health issues, barely funds research for us, and at worst uses us as examples to center men. And there are side effects to all medications. However, the side effects can sometimes be brushed aside by doctors that it's not a big deal. Like the pill has potential for blood clots, for example. And if you're on antibiotics, that can affect the effectiveness of the pill, and you can't have grapefruit or its juice even if you're on the pill because that can affect its effectiveness too. And you have to take it at the same time every single day. So it may not be the best option for someone who struggles with executive dysfunction or who has like a irregular sort of routine. And like happens often with medications, it can be a bit of a trial and error to find one that works well for you. Like the first one I got put on, Yasmin, I reacted so terribly to. Like I was struggling with awful migraines constantly, and like it made depression just like crushing. And it took 6 months to be able to get put onto a different one. So I'm not trying to say it's all sunshine and rainbows here. I believe patients should be informed of all options which are open to them, along with all the potential side effects too. I don't think I'm asking much with that, right? That doesn't mean that the option should be removed for people who want birth control or who have health issues that the birth control could help with.
Patients start questioning safe, evidence-based medicine because of online fear-mongering. Let me be blunt, birth control is healthcare, full stop. It's backed by decades of research and real-world use. It's not a luxury, not a lifestyle choice, and not immoral. It's a basic, necessary part of reproductive health, and everyone deserves access without shame, judgment, or barriers.
Because whilst there are side effects, the benefits may far outweigh any of those negatives. And this is a problem when it comes to medical misogyny and lack of funding for women's healthcare, because it creates like these patients, many of us have been let down time and again by doctor after doctor. It's expensive to go to them as well. And so it creates this environment where issues just fester, which provides ripe opportunities for companies and for grifters to come swooping on in that they've got the cure-all for you. Just look at the perimenopausal and menopausal consumerist wave that you see. Like, this industry is unregulated and worth millions, if not billions of dollars. That's because you've got these women who are struggling, who are underserved by the medical medical industry. You'll often see people sharing online and Reddit and TikToks of their struggles and their experiences with birth control, that they want to come off it. Like, there are so many ups and downs when it comes to trying to find birth control that works for you, because different ones can mess with different hormones, and like I said, the first one really did not work well for me. Another thing I've noticed is this focus on weight loss, which Evie magazine in particular loves to lean into, because we are in the thin as in times. Just like if you don't like tattoos, don't get a tattoo. It's pretty simple. If you don't like birth control, you don't have to go on birth control. If you don't like abortions, you don't have to get an abortion. It's your body, your choice. You're not hurting yourself or anybody else by doing so. Just like other people aren't hurting themselves or anybody else by getting tattoos, an abortion, or going on birth control. And it always cracks me up that it's the party of free speech and personal choice who are the ones trying to clamp down on other people's rights and other people's bodily autonomy. Hell, I've had guys in my comment section saying that they need to repeal the 19th Amendment. That is women's right to vote. It's about controlling women's autonomy, and I'm sure that you've probably seen this viral clip of this Italian couple as they're talking about their children. It's in Italian, so I'm going to read it out for you. How many kids do you have? 9. How many grandchildren? 16. You've had 9 children? 11 children. 2 of them passed away. 2 passed away very young. 1 of them was 3. You've had 11 children and 14 abortions. 25 pregnancies. She's had on average 1 pregnancy a year from the age of 20 to 45. This poor woman. I had the abortions behind my husband's back. Of course she had to hide her 11 abortions from him each and every time. Now he knows? Yes. Now I'm old. Because he didn't want to? No. He always wanted more children. Us Sicilian men always want more children. Does anybody else notice how little he cares about her? We've had all these children because the first one was a girl, the second one was a girl, the third one was a girl, the fourth one was a girl, the fifth one was a girl. You wanted a boy? I wanted a boy. Why do you care so much about having a boy? For a matter of heritage. To have an heir. To continue the family name? Exactly. But when a man wants his wife to have many children, is it also a matter of keeping her close to him? Yes, but we were young. We never stopped having them. If you had to restart your life, no, I would take 10 pills a day. You need 1 to not have children? I'd take 10 a day. With all these kids, you don't like children? No. But you had to raise them all, yes. And you raised them well, yes. She never wanted kids. He didn't even care about anything that she wanted. He just wanted to have his way. And one of these gotcha moments that people say is like, oh, well, if she hadn't had those kids, then they wouldn't be alive. If she was able to get abortions for all of them, you wouldn't be alive today. So you wouldn't be able to make all these videos. You wouldn't be able to do X, Y, and Z or whatever. Anyone that's been an unwanted child will be able to let you know that they would much rather not exist than to be an unwanted and resented child. It's truly not the gotcha that you think it is. There is one more Evie magazine article I want to highlight to you, because this is where everything just combines to be super nefarious. Yes, you can prevent pregnancy naturally. Here's how. We're turning back the clock to 19th century medicine, everyone. Hop on in the time machine. First, they shared the lie that the fertility awareness method, FAM, is 99% effective, which it definitely is not. As Planned Parenthood says, FAMs are about 77% to 98% effective. That means 2 to 23 out of 100 couples who use FAMs will get pregnant each year, depending on which methods are used. It's also really time-consuming, incredibly regimented, and requires so much discipline and constant monitoring of your body. So first you're fooled into thinking that you're in safe hands, and then they hit you with this whammy. Because women should take seriously. People generally don't think about these things until they have to, and that's where we feel we somehow become victims of naturally occurring biological processes. Cool. Share me as well. Ding ding ding, purity culture is alive and well. Samantha would be rioting and I'd be right alongside with her. What they suggest is tracking every single thing about your body, assessing your cervical mucus daily. Sorry, I tried not to gag when reading that too. Using a thermometer to take your basal bodily temperature daily. urine testing with affiliated marketing links because, oh no, you can't go giving money to Big Pharma, but give your money to our people instead. And of course, recommending period tracking apps which hold on to years of your data in detail. And in places where abortion is illegal, are actually really dangerous to use. So it's actually not simple. It's very evil, but it's marketed as empowerment, as something that you're taking control of yourself. Even going on to say that if you're struggling with ovarian cysts, hormonal imbalance, pain, or irregular periods, that a hormonal birth control will just mask the symptoms. It won't solve the root cause. That's because there hasn't been enough funding to find the various root issues like we talked about before, and also everybody reacts differently to different medications. But oh no, you shouldn't turn to a board certified doctor who has standards that they have to live by, otherwise they'll lose their medical license. You should go to a naturopath instead. They're saying this is how you become more attuned to your body. Isn't it also interesting that we've got birth control options which allow us to function in a capitalism machine at the same time that they're telling us that they want us to stop working and just become breeding machines? And this is the same time where they're attacking abortions and birth control. Coinky dink, I'm sure. The article ends by saying, no more mood swings, depression, weight fluctuation, or low libido. You can learn a birth control method that's right for you, and in the process you might grow to appreciate all the small ways your body serves you each and every day. Well, when I was unable to go to school or work due to birth cysts, incredible migraines, debilitating pain, all down from this point in my body onwards, I guess I should have just accepted that that's part of being a woman and part of the joys of it, right? And just appreciate all of the lovely things that my body is doing for me. Oh, you're blacking out due to blood loss? Oh, you should just be appreciative that your body tells you that you need to lie down. And this, my lovelies, is the appeal to nature fallacy. If your body isn't quite working properly, you're just not doing womanhood right. And then you end up circling back to eugenics like we talked about last time. But oh wait, most people didn't actually watch that video, but please go and watch it. I'll link it at the end for you because it's a very important video. I'm very proud of that and worked very hard on that. So can we please be real that this is just about controlling women's bodies, please? Because you'll notice that condoms and vasectomies are nowhere to be found when it comes to restricting access. There's no issues with anything that the P does, including if it involves children, as is evidenced by the fact that Epstein files have still not been released, despite the survivors wanting them to be. They can spray away like a sprinkler and get a boys will be boys attitude. No consequences for them. But as soon as a pregnancy is detected, out come the misogynistic men trying to stake their claim. It's their property, they should have rights. You're not allowed to get an abortion if I don't say that you're allowed one. It shouldn't be her decision as the one who's carrying the baby to term. No, it should be his, because it's his property. To which I say, why now? Why this sperm? I love Elle. Just like men would be rightfully up in arms if we said that all men must get a vasectomy until they can prove that they are ready for fatherhood, we're up in arms about our bodily autonomy being threatened to be removed. Because if you think about it logically, which once again I know that you love facts and logic, men are fertile for every single day of the year and could impregnate however many women they want to. Whereas women are only fertile for a few days each month, 6 on average. Yet we're the ones who are punished and shamed and whose bodies are policed. What was that line from earlier? Hold women accountable? By that theory, shouldn't men be held accountable since they've got higher likelihood of impregnating people?
Birth control pills absolutely can treat some hormonal issues. Of course, we shouldn't just put people on hormonal contraceptives without any look into what might be causing their problems, but there are some situations where masking the symptoms quite literally makes people able to live their lives.
Being taken seriously about our pain is incredibly hard due to all of these annoying factors. It takes on average 7 years to diagnose endometriosis, for example. And I've got a US resource link down below for you called I Care Better. And if you Google or even search through Reddit or something, you'll be able to find specialists in your area as well who will hopefully be able to help you if you are struggling with intense pain. Bodily autonomy is critically important, and like I mentioned earlier, just like if you don't want a tattoo, you don't have to get a tattoo. If you don't want to be on birth control, you don't have to be on birth control. If you don't want an abortion, you don't have to have an abortion. They're not hurting themselves or anybody else by exerting their bodily autonomy. If you're a dude who certainly doesn't want to have kids, I would recommend getting a vasectomy. It's a simple procedure, and your doctor will take you much more seriously than any time a woman such as myself has gone to the doctor trying to get a tubal litigation. It's probably one of the best ways of showing feminist solidarity in times like this if you are in a romantic relationship with a woman. So then the person with the uterus isn't at risk for being jailed if they are 1 out of 5 pregnancies which end in a miscarriage. And once again, that's a low estimate. I've been very open with you with the fact that I don't want kids, Brandon doesn't want kids. We had that discussion 3 months into our relationship. And with all of my health issues being in and out of hospital over the years, trying all sorts of different things to try and like not be in constant pain. Brandon decided himself that he wanted to get a vasectomy. The only thing he recommended, as I was talking with him about this earlier, was if you are uncertain, if you want to have kids in the future and thinking of getting a vasectomy, to freeze your sperm just in case you do want to have kids, because whilst vasectomies are indeed reversible, the longer that you have a vasectomy, the less likelihood that it will be able to be fully reversible. So then you've got your backup option. That was his recommendation. And of course, there's always condoms as well, or like Monica says, you can just
be there for her.
Not following you.
Think about it.
I know that we all hated the laugh track from Friends, but seriously, the show can still be good sometimes, but we all agree that we do not trust Ross. I also really highly recommend reading the book It's Not Hysteria by Dr. Karen Tang. Maybe check it out from the library as a physical book as opposed to listening to it as an audiobook, so then you can go to the relevant sections for you. And if you're feeling like really conflicted and challenged by the idea of abortions as well, check out the book You're the Only One I've Told by Dr. Meera Shah. And remember, South Carolina, there is a Senate hearing at 9:30 a.m. on the 1st of October. It's your only chance to have your objections heard, so make sure to take the day off work if you're able to and get over there. Okay, I think it's time to see how these cookies turned out because I did tinker around with the recipe a bit and I also added some Biscoff. And thanks once again to my patrons who are the ones that voted for this topic, and an extra special thank you to my top tier Trash Panda enablers. Alyssa, Baguette, Carrie Quake, Danielle, Emberly McCulley, Jamisa Brown, Jeff Boyardee, Cole, Laura Bell, Megan Connolly, Mila Gautier, Nathan, Nicole H, Ryder, Spooky Jade, Tammy Poitras, Tonya Banyay, Varu Catmama, and Zophema. I really want to see how these cookies turned out because seriously, the only surprise I want to find is Biscoff, not a baby. I reduced the amount of sugar in the recipe and that makes a really big difference in my opinion. It's springtime now, so we need to go and sort out the garden. I need to go pick lemons off the tree and hand them out to the neighbours, and also hand out cookies to the neighbours. So that's what I'm doing for the rest of the day. Hope that you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you lovelies next time. But maybe I'll have a cup of tea along with this first. Oh, I've got all the washing up to do from this too. Bummer.